Welcome to DBL. So The Rock was able to go from the wrestling ring to a movie screen, but could we eventually see him in the White House? Well, last week, The Rock said he had been contacted by both parties about running for president after a poll said 46% of Americans would support his campaign. But The Rock told Jimmy Fallon it may be a while. Take a listen.
Would this be something that you would ever consider?
I think down the road, for sure. I'm a proud girl dad. I have a 22-year-old, I have a 7, and I have a 5.
Yeah.
So they're all age ranges. And my 22-year-old, I like to say we grew up together. And at that time, I was wrestling full-time, 230 dates, 200 wrestling matches a year, so I was always gone. And I know what that's like to have an occupation that takes me away from being a daddy. And this time around, with my 7 and my 5-year-old, I want to be a daddy. And that's the most important thing to me. So.
Okay, so Tori, you live and breathe politics.
First of all, that's already part of his campaign. I mean, that's already buttering us up for The Rock. I want to be a good daddy, a good girl dad. All of that is part of it's not going to happen now, but I'm saying that's already like.
But someone that comes from D.C. and lives and breathes politics, are you okay with celebrities running for political office?
They already have. Super famous people, Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump. President and celebrities actually have a lot in common. They have to lead, they have to have presence, they have to have charisma, they have to have stamina, and they have to enjoy being in public. There's a lot of ego that comes with both. Even Barack Obama, who was very humble, said you got to have a huge ego to be in this job.
I would argue you have to have name recognition.
Well, Obama didn't, but anyway, what I'm saying here is very clearly is you have to, don't just go in celebrity. What are his policies?
Right.
You can't possibly just like The Rock because you like what he's cooking or you like his movies. Or that is what got us in trouble in the first place. What does he think about abortion? What does he think about voting rights, gerrymandering? All these things are important, and the country has forgotten that in a way that will get us in trouble.
Let me push back a little bit
do.
here. I wanted to make this fun, but I would vote for The Rock.
Oh, I'm not saying I wouldn't. I
right,
just
but here's my pushback. You're saying, oh, what are his policies? What do you tell people like, I'll vote for anybody but Trump? They don't care what their policies are, just as long as it isn't Trump or isn't Biden. What do you say to those people voting just on the fact that they dislike this person so much?
I think, well, first of all, I'm not sure Trump has a lot of policies. His entire administration
I'm just using,
was based on, those people are always going to be one-laners, I call them. They're always going to be like, I'm never going to do this, I'm never going to do that.
Isn't that the same thing is what I'm trying to say?
Meaning because they don't have policies?
You don't care, they don't care what their policies are. Nobody cares that The Rock doesn't have policies. They care that he's a good guy.
You're actually proving my point. That's what I'm saying. The country is moving more towards that, and I think that's a dangerous way of looking at it. They just enjoy The Rock or they don't like Trump, and instead of actually voting on what they have to offer, it's like, I don't like that personality. Personality versus having policies is a major problem that we're missing in America.
I will say this. I think we're really underselling Americans when we say that, because I think when you're talking about policies, I think that there have been policies that have been quite popular for a long time, but when Americans go to vote on them, because secret meetings have gerrymandered your district, we have been under minoritarian rule for quite a while now, and Americans realize that to some extent their vote doesn't matter. However they see, if you're in a certain district, if you're in a certain state, no matter what side you're in. So if it doesn't matter, Jeff, vote for the famous guy. Vote for the famous person.
That's exactly my point.
And I think
that's a really dangerous statement.
That's exactly
no. This is where we live.
But that's dangerous then to say I'm voting for anybody but XYZ. That's dangerous as well.
No, it's not dangerous. I have to disagree with that, because I think that we make most of our decisions based on not necessarily knowing what we want, but knowing what we do not want. If there wasn't a precedence for what we do not want, then that would be one thing. But we already have an example for someone to say, someone who was formerly in office, I did not like the direction that the country was headed in. I did not agree with the policies, and I did not agree the way that things went for those 4 years. That is perfectly fine to do your civic duty and go and vote according to that.
But you're caring, you don't care whatever the other guy is. That's what I'm saying. You don't care about the policies, you care about the other guy's policies.
The way that our system is set up is it's almost supposed to be the antithesis of one another. Like if one person is pro-choice and the other person is pro-life. So it's it's not as though it's like, oh, well, this person believes in the planets and apples and oranges. Like we're talking about two sides of one coin.
It's a binary
So
system.
I don't agree that just because you're saying this isn't what I want moving forward isn't a legitimate way to vote.
I think, well, I disagree with you guys. Because,
I understand you do.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that that's the way that people exercise their civic duty. It's like it could be one or the other. Maybe it's not someone who actually represents.
I get it, but you're not voting on policy. That's my whole point. You're not voting on policy. You're voting on I don't like this person.
But you're vote. Let's say Trump is pro-life. You are voting.
And I'm not sticking up for Trump here. What I'm saying is it doesn't matter. People just go, I'm Republican, I'm Democrat. I don't like that guy, so I'm voting for this. It doesn't even matter who you vote for. It comes down to 6 states in the United States. Those 6 states determine our president.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you think or
sometimes the
whoever.
counties in those 6 states.
Right. It doesn't matter. That's what our 6 states. We don't even need to vote because states are blue, states are red. I don't like that guy, and I'm voting for this guy, and I don't care what his policies are.
Georgia
He's not
would
that guy.
disagree that it doesn't matter, seeing as how they were able to turn blue after years.
You don't see my point? You don't think I have a point?
I understand what you're saying, but I think your point is slightly antiquated, to be quite honest. I think that this is the reason why this country has become so apathetic, because people are going around saying your vote doesn't matter. If Stacey Abrams had made that decision that the vote did not matter, then there would never have been a push to actually turn Georgia blue. We saw that with our own eyes. So the idea that it doesn't matter keeps everything stagnant, and actually it makes us move backwards. I understand that a lot of people feel the way that you do, but I
don't feel that way. I'm telling.
I get it.
I think your way of thinking is antiquated. How about that? I think you just hating someone, and you don't care what the policies are on the other side. I'm voting for the other side because I hate this guy.
First of all,
that's antiquated.
That's not the way that I vote. I'm simply stating that you stating that the idea of someone voting against someone else's policies means that they're only voting against them because they don't like them. Could it be that they're voting against them because those are policies that this person is so strong about, they're actually using it as a platform that is going to be their priority to push through? Going to the poll to say, I am going to stop Roe v. Wade from being eradicated, it's the same.
Don't throw that in the conversation, because it's not the same.
That is the conversation.
It's not. No, it's not.
How can it not be? Okay, we're not.
That's policy. That's policy.
Yes, it is policy. And
I just said that's policy.
The policy.
I just said that's policy. There's people that don't care about policy and vote for the other side because they don't care.
Who are these people that you're talking about?
Americans. Americans. You can't just throw Roe v. Wade in there. I understand that.
Roe v. Wade is the conversation.
No,
I'm not talking about Roe v. Wade.
No, it's not.
Yes, it absolutely freaking is.
Can I say something, please, for 1 second, guys?
I think you guys are actually both saying the same thing.
This is all coming back to my point. And Sam, I'm sorry. This is all I want to say about my point and why some voters feel disenfranchised and that their vote doesn't count. Donald Trump did not win the majority of he did not win by majority. He won by the Electoral College. He then was able, because of RBG and other people, to put 2 Supreme Court justices that are 2 unelected people on a court of 9 people for our entire lifetime. So we have a one-term president that was unelected, that was elected not by the majority of the people, and he was able to have a significant influence over the lives of Sophie's life, my daughter's life, your son's life, and that's why people are frustrated, because they're like, I don't
Jeff agrees with that.
I agree with that. And I also think Ruth Bader Ginsburg stayed too long, and she should have left office, just like Donald Trump. And I'm not talking about policies. I know you have to go. I'm not talking about policies. I'm talking about people ignoring policies and voting for someone because they dislike them. That's what I'm saying.
I agree. And as someone that got to sit here and listen to it all, I actually think Jeff and Erica, and I'm not just trying to play Switzerland here, are saying the same thing. Your point isn't about policy, because you're saying if somebody really wants Bernie Sanders, guess what? Even if he wins the popular vote, he doesn't get a Marianne Williamson or a Bernie Sanders. He gets Biden.
Yeah.
So that's where Jeff's coming from. You're specifically saying we can turn certain states blue. We can go after and get out there and go door to door, and we actually can influence an election. But
that's how you're supposed to vote.
Yes.
Yes.
But I know what you're saying, where you're just stuck with one person, even if you are.
No matter what it is, I'm voting for this guy, not that guy.
Right. That guy
no policy.
Okay.